A little more. Keep coming. Whoa, good. Largemouths, smallmouths, white bass. Springtime fishing. That's what it's all about. This pre-spawn bite is no messing around. You can cast and whine and you end up catching a pile of fish in the process. Here. We're on the white bass again.
White bass again.
That's the thing with these white bass, man. When there's one,
And there's more. Fighting machines.
aggressive, eh? Not a giant one, but
Fun fish.
certainly a nice one.
Ah, another bucket mouth. Nice.
Stacking up the species. Nice bass. I think I got a smallmouth. I do. I got a brown bass. White bass, brown bass, all of the above. We'll get a walleye before it's all said and done. Oh, right there, right there. Right there. What do you got? Feels nice. Oh, walleye.
Nice.
Heck yeah. Sweet. Thank you, sir. Check that out. Multi-species day coming together.
Closed captioning is provided by Smooth Moves, adjustable boat seat suspensions for a smoother ride.
All right, this is looking good, Ty.
All right.
Beauty of a day. The wind's not too bad.
Sunny out.
Yeah, no, it should be great. So, hey, I bet if you were to ask everybody at our office, what's your favorite thing to fish for? The overwhelming answer would probably be what's ever biting. And right now, we're out in the Dakotas looking to do just that, catch what's ever biting. We're in water that has walleyes, white bass, smallmouth, largemouth, pike, and we're gonna chase anything that swims. This is a multi-species trip. We got a few days to fish, and we're gonna share with you the tools that we bring and how we go about breaking down waters we've never seen before to catch the hottest thing happening.
The beautiful thing about South Dakota is there's a lot of fish, a lot of different species, so we're gonna go attack it.
It's gonna be fun. Let's get her wet.
Water temperature is a driving force for many species of fish, especially in the spring. The fact is, fish are cold-blooded, but in the early part of the year, they're a lot like you and me. They're looking for some warm temperatures. At this time, say a week or two after ice out, many species share the same water space. Here's a general rule of thumb for spawning habits of many game fish species. First up are the pike. They're the first to come in and spawn, sometimes even under the ice. Next are the walleyes. Then white bass, followed by largies and smallmouth. The thing is, many of these species are sharing staging or warming areas before they spawn, and that's where we are now.
Look at them, all big school of whiteys here, Ty, a whole bunch of them. I'm gonna tail them down. Look at that. Whole pile of white bass. I saw one chase it. Yeah, I saw one chase it the cast before that. That's the thing with these white bass, man. When there's one, there's usually a bunch of them, and they like to go mine, 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 mine when they see one of these baits. Not a giant one, but certainly a nice one. And what we're doing right now is casting the lipless crankbait, one of the best tools I know of for covering a lot of water and finding active fish. And right now we're out looking at new water. It's pre-spawn for largemouth, smallmouth. The walleyes are just about on the spawn. White bass are still in pre-spawn, and the pike are probably on the spawn right now as well. So we're looking at shallow water, exploring new water, and we're gonna share with you some techniques that we do to catch fish in a place we've never been early in the year.
Yeah.
You got one,
There
dude.
we go. Took a little while, but Jeremy had a little bit of a lead on me on these whiteys, but persistence pays off.
Yeah.
Fighting machines.
Aggressive, eh?
I mean, pound for pound, they're one of the best
Yeah,
fighting
they are.
fish. And like you say, they're super aggressive, and where there's one, there's more.
So what we've got here, as you can see, it's another one. You can see this is basically a big bay. This lake, I don't know, is maybe 2,500 acres or something like that. And anytime you've got big water on one side of, say, a big point or something like that, something to separate it, and you get some kind of a bay, usually you get a temperature gradient, and early in the year like this, those are the places that we'll primarily start. I mean, we're right off the boat ramp right here. You look at the map and you can see that this spot is very contained. It's not exposed to the big water. It's gonna warm up quickest, and it looks like it's got some weed cover, a few little rocky high points in the middle. And you see a lot of guys when they're fishing these little bays, they're just going right along the bank. Well, the water's still cold enough that the fish haven't pushed up to the bank yet. Maybe in another week or so, or a few days of warm weather, you'll see fish pushing up on the banks. But right now, the fish come into these areas and they're usually in the middle, and that's say 4 to 7 feet of water. And just throwing a lipless crank is a good way to cover down and find them. I'm guessing we're gonna catch some walleyes, some northerns, some white bass, maybe a smallmouth, and probably a handful of nice largies. Just doing this technique.
There we go. Move down spots. I mean, those fish started moving away from that shoreline as that sun came out. And it seems like they're a little deeper now too.
Where we headed? Rocks! Better go with the swinging rugby jig! I know what to do, thanks! It's articulated, swinging head. Let soft plastics move naturally and freely. I know! I designed it! Plus, it's got that extra long Z-bend hook that you love. And it's got Hey, little help here? Oops, I'm sorry. Did you say something? Come on, help me! Turn this bag over!
Hey, you remember when we were hanging out last night? You know, me, you, Gail.
That's my girl.
You guys are awesome. And then you went to bed.
I was tired.
You were super tired. And then it was just me and Gail.
Mm-hmm.
Alone.
What?
Oh, yeah!
It's all in the paws. New Shadow Rap from Rapala.
Auto stow and deploy, power trim, and your choice of iPilot or iPilot Link. Ulterra from Minn Kota. We can't believe it either.
This segment is brought to you by Big Bite Baits, designed to bring the big bite to your line.
Of course, when you're out in South Dakota, North Dakota, you're always facing wind, and we're using the wind to our advantage here, but we're just making drifts across this shallow area of this bay here, and it's really useful to pay attention to your GPS, of course, mark where you catch fish, but also each pass, I'm trying to separate them by about a cast length or so we're not covering the same water each time around. So just make sure you pay attention to where your current track is at, and I'll just go head back upwind, and then we'll drift back down with the wind on another course and hopefully catch a few more fish. Early season fishing like this, one of the best tools you've got in your boat is your thermometer. We've seen just in the small bay that we're fishing a big difference in temperature from one side to the other. When we get closer to the side where the wind is pushing in, the water's actually 3 or 4 degrees warmer than it is on the other side, and that's where we're finding fish. So I always really pay attention, you know, especially in these shallow bays, more so to what the depth is as to what the temperature is. When you're around warmer water, usually you're around the fish. So if you find a little pocket that you see warm water in, put your time in there, because there's most likely some fish in that zone. And I'm gonna switch up to a big largemouth bait. One of the other baits I've got tied on is, of course, a spinner bait. Tough bait to beat for largemouth. Smallies will bite it too. You can get white bass, but I've caught so many big largemouth over the years throwing a Terminator swim bait or spinner bait that I've always got it tied on in the spring. If there's largies in the area, the should select for the big one.
Find one?
Yeah.
Another buckyballs. Nice.
Large.
It's a little better.
In this area. Yeah, not bad. We'll certainly take it. Ah! Stacking up the species. Nice bass. It's fun. So, two things that both this bait and the lipless crankbait have in common is that they move on a horizontal plane. And that's one thing I've noticed when it comes to spring fishing is you'll see that baits that move like this catch a lot more fish. And I would say that when the water is below, say, 50 degrees or something like that, when it gets, you know, into the 60s, when it gets to pre-spawn time, jigs, tubes, things that are moving vertically are a lot more effective. But this time of year, a suspending jerkbait moving horizontally, a lipless crankbait, a crankbait, a spinnerbait, a swim jig, those baits that are moving in a horizontal plane seem like they trigger a lot more fish than those that move vertically. And the other advantage is you can cover a lot more water and fish faster with this style of bait. So I'm going to share with you the baits that we've got rigged on the deck of this boat for a multi-species trip in the spring.
The best lures for this time frame can be summed up in one word: horizontal. That's right, you want baits you can fish fast and allow you to cover lots of water. Many times when fish get up shallow, they have a tendency to spread out and be in loose schools. This is very common throughout the year, but especially true in the spring. When they're up, it's time to power fish. Nothing beats a rattle bait. Our lures of choice are a Rapala Rip and Rap or a Storm Rockin' Shad. Both baits have a high-pitched sound that get fish's attention from a long distance, and they hook extremely well. Next is a spinnerbait. The Terminator T1 to be exact. This is a no-brainer in the spring. A swim jig is another go-to bait. We like the Terminator swim jig with a big bite curly tail, boot tail, or craw. They all work exceptionally well. An 1/8 ounce VMC moon eye or darter head jig with a cane thumper is another great multi-species lure. You can slow roll it, burn it fast, or even rip jig it off the bottom to trigger strikes. A jerkbait of some type is always tied on no matter what I fish for. The X-Rap and Shadow Rap are two great lure choices for cold water fishing. The X-Rap is neutrally buoyant and the Shadow Rap has a slow sink that imitates a dying minnow. Both are killers.
I had to try jerkbait just to see if I could. I think I got a smallmouth. I do. I got a brown bass.
Look at there.
White bass, brown bass. All of the above. We'll get a walleye before it's all said and done.
Uncompromising. Like the fishermen who swear by it.
There's no place like this.
When you're in a business of teaching people how to catch fish, you need to provide anglers with the finest equipment, backed with the knowledge of how to use it. It's all about blending science and technology with hardcore fishing experience and passion. It's a relentless commitment to quality because it's family, it's personal, and it's all about catching more and bigger fish.
There's a real boy there.
We're always looking for a secret to success, like lures, legs, spots. Here's one mechanics have been using for decades to solve fuel system problems. It's seafoam motor treatment. Seafoam helps do the few important things exceptionally well. Removes harmful engine deposits, controls moisture, stabilizes fuel for up to 2 years, and adds lubrication to fuel, so engines run cooler and last longer. To me, this stuff is like a miracle in a can.
The Edge is presented by these and other fine sponsors.
I think I got a smallmouth. I do, I got a brown bass. White bass, brown bass, all of the above. We'll get a walleye before it's all said and done. Never go anywhere in the spring where there's smallmouth without having a jerk bait. You know, we've been talking about the effectiveness of the lipless crank for catching multi-species, but of course, you never hit the water for a day, or rarely, should I say, and fish one lure all the time. Grab a pliers here. Rarely do you fish one lure all the time, and we've got several presentations rigged up. Nice smallmouth bass. Got that quick, that's a pretty fish, huh? And that one came on a shadow wrap, a suspending jerk bait. And this is another great multi-species tool, but really what it comes down to in fishing is obviously making the right choice of presentation based on efficiency, what the fish are willing to bite. So now if we can go through an area and catch fish on a lipless crankbait or a spinnerbait, you can make a lot more casts and catch a lot more fish than you could fishing a jerkbait, even though this fish is relatively fast. We made a few passes through here with that lipless crankbait, with the spinnerbait style, so we're just mixing it up. This is a little slower, but still can cover water quickly. But the idea is fish as aggressively and as fast as you can in any situation to eliminate water, see what the fish prefer, and pick the right tool for the job. So this is just, we didn't catch any smallmouth on lipless cranks in this area, but I figured there'd had to be some smallmouth here, and they're susceptible to a jerkbait big time this time of year, so maybe there'll be a few more. There you go, cool. Boy, they're pretty down there.
Fighter? Yeah, they are. You know, one of the things I was doing too, Jer, is as you were kind of cleaning my clock a little bit, I kind of adjusted my speed of my retrieve, and that seemed to make a ton of difference. Because I was getting a lot of ticks, and they were shorting me a little bit. And just slowing down that retrieve a little bit seemed to make a big difference.
Oh yeah, another one. It's just wild. So this has been pretty useful in this wind out here. I've got the talon and we're using it like all the time. So it's like we talon down, we make a few casts, we get a few fish. It's like I pull the talon, we move the boat forward 10 feet and we're catching again. It's just amazing how many fish are in this zone. But if you don't have a shallow water anchor for this situation, I mean, it's windy out, you're all over the place. But here we get on a school of fish, man, we can just lock down and beat on them. Such a useful tool. Everybody that's been in my boat fishing in situations like this has said, I got to get one of those things. That is the coolest tool I've seen. You might think you might not use it all that often, but for launching your boat, you use it at the dock. You're in a situation like this, you want to take a break, have lunch, you want to tie a new bait on, you're catching a lot of fish. It's just an amazing tool for catching fish, man. Keep on chunking, Dano. Chunk. Yeah, got him.
Got one?
Yep.
Out of
whitey,
school,
I
huh?
believe. Yep. Yep, the school's out there.
Oh, there we go.
Double up.
Double. There we go. Where there's one, there's more.
Tough to go wrong, man. That is the fun part about getting out of the house after a long winter, casting, getting fish. A lot of times it's visual with these things too. You know, we're fishing relatively clear water so you can see the fish coming. And man, after looking down an ice hole, casting, winding, getting to see fish come up and hit stuff, it's such a fun deal.
Fun fish. Like you say though, I mean, after a long winter, sure is nice to get in the boat again.
There's one. Got him. So the equipment that I'm using right now, both Ty and I are using the same setup. We're throwing the lipless cranks. I've got this Tour MG. This is a super lightweight reel. It's a magnesium reel. and got them spooled up old school with mono. This is Suffolk Siege 12 pounder. When I'm fishing lipless cranks, I want a nice stretchy line. These baits are heavy, the hooks are small, and I want a lot of stretch in the string. Smallmouth in particular, if you get them, of course they can jump. These things like to go up and shake their head, but that, you know, that a little more stretch in the line, you get a nice load in the rod, and man, you can do some serious damage with it. And I know a lot of guys like to go lighter, but 12 pound for me when I'm, you know, fishing crankbaits up here, or fishing lipless crankbaits. 10 is kind of the standard, but in this country I like to go with 12. The fish aren't line shy. You can hoist fish in the boat. You're going through a lot of fish. You don't have to retie as often, so I like the 12 pound mono for this type of situation. Yep. Oh yeah.
You get one?
Yeah. Spinnerbait. Large.
Big one?
Large. Nice.
Oh, that's a good one.
Nice. Yeah. I'm gonna lock us down here. See if there's a few more.
That's a good one.
Hey, I'll take it. I will take it. Huh? Look at that.
Beauty.
Thing of beauty. Largemouths, smallmouths, white bass.
Mercury engine test.
Easy to maintain performance you can rely on. It's good to have Mercury behind you.
For over 65 years, Lund has had an unwavering commitment to build the finest fishing boats on the water. 65 years of dedication, innovation, passion. Lund boats stand up to the elements and the use hardcore anglers put them through, season after season. Built by fishermen, for fishermen.
We've made our name helping anglers unlock the water's hidden secrets. Hit the switch. It's time to reveal even more. AutoChart Live gives you the power to build your own high-definition maps anywhere in the world in real time. Because when you know the unknown, you can do the unheard of. AutoChart Live. Only from Humminbird.
Mercury engine test.
Smooth, quiet power you can rely on. It's good to have Mercury behind you.
The Edge is presented by these and other fine sponsors.
Look at that. Thing of beauty. Largemouths, smallmouths, white bass. Springtime fishing. That's what it's all about. This pre-spawn bite is no messing around. You can cast and wind and cast and wind, and you end up catching a pile of fish in the process. Let me get this back. Nice. So the spinnerbait, that was one of the tools, of course, that we're using, and this particularly for largemouth, but this is the Terminator spinnerbait, the power pulse skirt. I mean, just a beautiful spinnerbait. What I love about these is the titanium. I mean, check that out. You can just bend it, do whatever, and it comes right back into place. They're just phenomenal spinnerbaits. I mean, I've had some of these for a few years, and how many spinnerbaits can you do that with? You get on a day like we're having a day where you're getting fish after fish, pretty soon the wire on your spinnerbait shot, these last forever. You might have to replace a skirt, maybe a blade gets broke off every once in a while, but you can fish with them forever. They're so durable. They're just awesome. You don't need to have 100, and you don't ever have to worry about busting one off.
Here.
We're on the white bass again.
White bass again. For sure that speed was a big difference. It's 2 casts in a row and bam, bam.
Bang.
Just got to pay attention to what you're doing out there, not only on the baits you're using. You know, sometimes you have to downsize, maybe even go bigger, but you know, the retrieve is a big part of what we're doing. Sometimes you give it a little twitch, drop it back a little bit. But it's all relative, what you're doing. You just pay attention to what you're doing out there.
Oh, right there, right there, right there.
You know what?
Feels nice. Oh, walleye.
Ooh, nice, walleye.
Heck yeah.
There we go.
Sweet, thank you, sir. Beauty, I'm gonna not hold this down. Maybe there's more. Tailing is down. Sweet, thanks, Ty. This is kind of a cool pliers. Look at that, it's got the bent handle on it, that little Rapala. I don't know, bent nose pliers, but it works good. Check that out. That's a delicious looking fish, isn't it? Huh? That's the other bonus. You can come out here and you can keep a few of these to eat at night. It's a great, great eater fish. Multi-species day coming together.
You know, I'd like to take a moment to share something with you. I've got 2 adult sons. One lives in California and the other one lives in Arizona. And I'll tell you, there's things that they have done in their life that I'm really, really, really proud of. But there's one thing that really shines above all of the others. And it really, every time I see this happen, I get a smile on my face. Almost every single day, one of my sons calls my wife to talk to her. Almost every single day. These are adult men with busy lives, families of their own, doing things, but they take the time to give her a call, talk with, how you doing, ma, da, 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 and naturally close with the words, ma, I love you. When I see the smile on my wife's face after hearing them say that to her, I could not be more blessed. It's so encouraging. Hey, I had to do something right in all my life with all these years with these guys. There's some things I can hear God saying, Al, well done with them. And it really is a blessing to me. And every time I hear it, I think of a particular scripture. It's in Proverbs, the book of wisdom. Proverbs 31:28. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her children rise up and call her blessed. I'm blessed by it. Every time that phone rings and they talk to her, I get almost a tear in my eye. It is such a blessing to me. Hey, from all of us here at The Edge, you have a good, safe fishing season. We'll see you on the water.